Yeah, the Wi-Fi signal was good last time. The shit, right as I got in talking about the Indian and Black American roots of black music, the shit got started tripping. So if you're watching later, this is part two. If you was watching live, come on in here. I'm gonna give the people. If you watching later, I'm gonna give the people who was in here live about 5 minutes. Come on back in here, then I'm gonna get back to cooking. So if you want to get to what I was talking to, if you're watching part two later on, if you want to get to what I was talking to, go back and watch part one. And we about to start back. What's up, Rashawn? Hit the share button, y'all. Shit. Yeah, we back. We back. I had to hit the share button. We back. We back. We back. We back. We back. Yeah, they had to cut that. My Wi-Fi is good. Like I'm looking at, if I could take a screenshot, I'm 4 bars. I have complete Wi-Fi and complete cell signal. I got both. So I don't know what the fuck happened. My Wi-Fi signal is good. My cell signal is good. But that's what happens when you talking that real shit. You did? So back to what we talking about. Yeah. My shit, my signal is good. I don't know what the fuck going on. But I just moved out here 10 feet from my Wi-Fi box just in case. So back to what we talking about. Back to what we talking about. So we're talking about the African music myth. Again, not to say that there is no Africans in stuff in our music. No, there is definitely some African, but the amount of African rhythms or African influence in Black American music is minimal. It is minimal, like I said, for two reasons. So, Wally Gibson, minimal for multiple reasons. One, they minimize and basically write out any Indian and Native ancestry lineage within the music. They just totally ignore it, even though there's a much more firm connection to Indian and Native American music than it is African music. And what we do here in American music, a tradition of our music, especially jazz, is to innovate and move forward. It's to innovate and move forward. First off, when it comes to African music, what African instruments are used in American music? I'm not talking about things like the kalimba that Maurice White used from Earth and Fire in little stuff, or you could say the banjo, but when was the last fucking time you heard a banjo played in Black American music? I'll wait. African drums aren't used in our music. African drums aren't used. Even the congos are American. We don't have the same, we don't even use the same materials for our congos. You could say the way we play the congos, the way we play them, our congos are an accompaniment to provide color to lace and play around the drum set. The congos are color. They don't drive our music. The hand drums drive African music. The hand drums drive even a lot of your Caribbean music and Brazilian music. But the hand drums don't drive our music. They color our music. And in situations where the hand drums do drive the music, like a song, say like I Want You by Marvin Gaye. When you see it start off with the conga, I love the hand drums in I Want You by Marvin Gaye. You see how even the way it's played, it's not played the way African rhythms are played. Not at all. Hey, mister, you funny as hell. Yeah, this catch came and listen. That's right, mister. I don't know. People to be talking. And so it's a different rhythm. What African language is sung in our music? And I'm gonna go back to the point I was making before the last live stream went dead. We're dealing with the 380,000 Africans that were imported to America. They came to a land that the first slaves and Americans were Indians, prisoners of war. You came to a land where Africans were imported to a system that was already going on without them. And when they were imported here and stripped of their language. They couldn't bring any instruments. And it only takes one generation to lose information. They basically primarily brought men. Traditions are held down by women. So if the majority of the slaves that were brought from Africa were men, well, who were these men reproducing with? I'm gonna blink my eyes like a broad named Gladys. If the majority of the 300,000 slaves that were brought from Africa over a 200-year period were brought in, and they were men, who were they recreating with? And so the Africans that were forced to come, they didn't bring their traditions with them. And if they wanted to bring their traditions with them, they weren't even allowed to. They weren't even allowed to. So Zydeco is traditional American music. That's the music of the Indians in Louisiana. It's the reason why them fucking Lake Charles niggas love Zydeco so much. That's their music. It ain't got a damn thing to do with Africa. It got some French in it. But that's their traditional music down there. And I got deep roots in the Lake Charles area. We got to understand that, like, Baby Dodds being, you don't know how important it is that Baby Dodds was Indian. Because he's really laid the foundation to how American drums are played. So we just have to understand that when they push Africa, 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 the purpose of that is to not get you to look at America, America, America. It's to disinherit you from your inheritance here on this land. That's what the purpose that is, to get you not focused on what you have here and what you created here. And then getting into what I was saying about the blues. The blues really got codified in the 1880s, 1890s, early 1900s is when what we now know as the modern blues really started to get its sound, because what people like Blind Tom Wiggins played was the precursor to what we now know as the blues, and what was being played in the 1800s. It was other music. We're always evolving our music. But by the time we get to the blues, we're now over a half century from the last slave ship coming to America. And the minute you disconnect the child from his mother and his father, you now disconnect any kind of cultural continuity, learning. Somebody said, who's singing? My neighbors are having some fucking karaoke. That's what you hear in the background. Neighbors having Saturday night karaoke. Which is crazy because that house is always quiet. They're very quiet people, so they having a good time. It must be somebody's birthday. She call that shit karaoke, nigga. Stop this shit. No, nigga. Carry off key is what we should call it. And so when they try to bring in the banjo, and I'm gonna have to sit down with some guitarists and do some research on this, but the banjo's not played the way the guitars played in America. The banjo is not played the way the acoustic guitar, the electric guitar is played. They're played two different ways. And the flat guitar, J-Mo does a great gives a great example on how that steel guitar, and that steel guitar is tied down to the South, not Africa. So yeah, the in the sound of the banjo just doesn't really fit. It fits into your folk, because American folk music is ours, and the banjo in America, they found it was some research done. The first banjo found in America was made in America. It didn't come from Africa, although they do have banjos in Africa. And the first African drum, do y'all know that? I think it was the Smithsonian. There was a museum, I think it was in Virginia. It was some museum in Virginia. Look this up. Y'all can look it up while I'm talking, because I can't look it up while I'm on my phone. But do you know that the first African drum found in America was made in America? And they drew that conclusion because the wood source, the tree used for that particular drum was a tree that is indigenous to the east coast of America, not from Africa. Like, the deeper you do research on this stuff and say, okay, see, that's one thing I did get for the person earlier who asked me about Um, do I have a degree in this? No, I don't have a degree in musicology, but I do know how to research. I, again, I studied anthropology. And when you understand anthropology, you understand how to search and source for information and how to draw connections. And you learn the right questions to ask to get the information because the answer lies within the question. The answer lies within the question. You're not going to get the answer. The only way you're going to get the answers is through asking the right questions. Yeah, I learned how to play the drums through my ears. I didn't start going to drum lessons until long after, not long after, but until after I was playing live in front of people at church. I went to drum lessons to learn how to read music, and I learned how to read music. And yeah, so the banjo that's used that comes out of the South, that was even made here in America, and it is used in your Appalachian music, that West Virginia. The banjo can primarily in Appalachia, and that's in your folk music and throughout Tennessee, you find banjo style music that's played, but those are sounds that stayed in a place and time that in some ways undergirded and helped with the sound of the blues. They have a lot of that folk music has elements in blues and country. They definitely have some elements, a lot of that folk music that use the banjo. But oftentimes you get people focused on elements and not what's dominant. They don't. You notice they always when they try to put other concepts of cultures and stuff with our stuff, they say elements, or influence. They use the words elements and influence. Element can be as small as a piece of dust. This little piece of grass in front of me is an element, but does it define where I am because there's a piece of grass here? I mean, it's small like this weed. Like this weed right here is an element in my building. This is most definitely an element of my building. But what does that element have to do with the plumbing, the electricity, the the drywall, the plaster, the roof? What does this element have to do with anything with the structure of my building? When I call to get repairs done on my building here, does that element play any kind of a role? Yeah, Mr. My joint, this is an element, this joint. Does this joint define me? No, I was me before. I didn't even smoke weed when I was in high school and learned. I didn't start really smoking weed heavy till I got to my 30s. I first started smoking weed when I joined this one band I was in. When I was like 20, I was like 25 when I joined that band. 24, that's when I started smoking weed. Weed is an element, but does it define me? See, what they do is they get us focused on elements as if elements defines the object. And so my research with my tree is focused on the roots. It's focused on the structure. What makes it what it is, what makes it thrive. If the banjo was that essential to Black American music, why isn't it still used? Why is that an element that's very rarely you find you there are way more elemental European instruments used in our music than African. Tears say you want to go to that karaoke party. Yeah, this shit sounds fucking terrible. Them niggas is playing Roses by Outkast now. This is horrible. These niggas, yeah, but these niggas is getting it. They getting it. Let me see here. But yeah. And so yeah, they drunk. Yeah. But so that's what I'm talking about. We have to deal with what we use. And what we use in the instruments that are the bandstand of America were invented in America. The bandstand of the sound is the bass guitar, American. The 4-string bass. The drum set, American. Although the saxophone was invented in Europe, it was a distinct defunct instrument until Indian Charlie Parker and made it a instrument of use. The Black American either invented the instrument or we defined how that instrument was played. The piano, European. The American guitars comes from a couple places in my research. One, based on primary source interviews like with blues legend Bobby Rush, when you talk to a lot of your blues legends, their first guitar was a diddley bow, including Bo Diddley. The first guitar they played was a diddley bow, and I talk about this in my documentary. A diddley bow is when they tie a string of haywire to a wood stump or a brick at the bottom and extend it along a wood plank and tie it in at the top, usually with some sort of can. A diddley bow was the first guitar. And the American guitar has a deeper connection with the lute than it does the banjo. The lute comes through Spain, Moorish Spain, by way of Mesopotamia. But the lute took on many different evolutions. And you hear the lute in songs like, go listen to D'Angelo's song, Really Love. The song he did on his last album that he did 10 years ago. It's a song called Really Love. That's when you hear that sound, that's the Spanish sound, aka the Moorish sound. But as far as the electric guitar, a lot of your Black American guitarists invented and created their own guitars. You gotta realize we weren't just slaves. We were electricians too. We were the guitarist Bo Diddley, who created the backbeat, dounch 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 a down dounch 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 a down dounch, which also has indigenous ties to that Bo Diddley backbeat. Dounch is there are Africans that have a similar rhythm, but there are multiple Native American tribes that have that rhythm too. Doonch, 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 a doon, doonch, 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 doon. The that Bo Diddley invented that guitar. That box guitar you see that the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin imitated, Bo Diddley created that in his own backyard. Bo Diddley didn't get that guitar from Africa. He created it out of the resources and materials around them. And it was Les Paul that saw these electric guitars that Black Americans were creating. And he created and founded the Les Paul Guitar Company, which was the first electric guitars in America, the Les Paul. But Les Paul saw what he just basically took the engineering that we created. Mind you, this is a time in America to where even if a Black person could afford to patent something, they couldn't afford to develop it. Like with my great grandfather invented the automatic railroad crossing, but he didn't have the money to develop the patent, so he had to sell it. If you were lucky, you got to sell your patent. Most of the time, they just stole it. Same thing with the drum set. We invented it. Gretsch, the Gretsch company, and one other company. I'm drawing a blank to the other company. It was Gretsch and one other company. They are the ones that developed it. A lot of us sold our original songs because we needed the money, and we didn't have a constant. Think about it. If you're in 1925, North and South Carolina, and some white man come and offer you 5 minutes for the copyright of your song, what difference do it make to you? You gonna still keep singing it? You don't know the fuck about a copyright to a song in 1927 when I forgot the name of that white man, but there's a white man that would go throughout the Carolinas, go throughout Tennessee, and go to Black churches and go to Black musicians, not musicians, but like folk, the songs in the community, and they would pay somebody $5. Mind you, this is during the time that $5 is a month worth of is a shit. That's rent. That's a month of rent. 2 months rent some places. Depending on how you was living, if they gave you $10 for a song you've been singing your whole life, what is it to you? You don't even know. There's no such thing as a recording music industry yet. Mind you, these people who don't even have. Well, there was a recording music industry, but you're dealing with people who oftentimes don't even have radios. It may be one at that time. It may be one radio in the neighborhood. You're dealing with people who don't have phonographs. So to them, this is nothing to say, yeah, how many more songs you want? Oh, shit, I got about 10 more of them. Nigga, you have Black folks coming up, nigga, making $50 that month. You know how much it meant for a nigga to make $50 in the 20s in rural Arkansas? Nigga, that was a come up. They didn't know about music publishing. So can you fault them? We know about music publishing now because we're 100 years later. They didn't know about music publishing at that time. So what's up, DSB? Appreciate it, my brother. Yeah. I appreciate that therapy radio 808. But this is the world that we're in. And so, and another thing about music, too much is given to Africa and all these other places. Music comes from the spirit. Don't ever get it twisted. It comes from your spirit and it's interpreted through your personal experience and the environment that you're in. I can't get a music download that's gonna speak through the lens of somebody that lives in Liberia. I can't get a music download that's gonna make sense to somebody who lives in Lagos or in Timbuktu. Those downloads are gonna come from the people who were there. Now, humanity is humanity, so I can speak, write certain lyrics that's going to apply to all humanity. That happens too in crossover music and in a lot of music, but I music comes from spirit and it's interpreted through my environment. And somebody said black churches do call and repeat every Sunday. No, not all black churches. Some black churches do. Yeah, my church never did call and repeat. When I played the drums at church for 20 years, so you can't talk to me about what black churches do. Some do call and repeat, and call and repeat isn't distinctly African. Call and repeat is native to America too. Like going back to Baby Dodds, he talked about how his grandfather sent messages through hollow logs. Indians had call and repeat. That's not Africans had call and repeat, but so did the people here too. So did the natives of Mexico too. And that's the part again that they always do. They always want to just pin it in Africa and omit. We can prove this is in Native American music, sir, ma'am. We can prove this. Call and answer is a part of Native music too. They omit the Native experience on purpose. Because yeah, if I tell you, hey, look, if I tell you, let's break this down and put this in another way. Let's reframe this. If look inside your house right now, just say you have a house. In your house, there's a couch that your grandfather put together and built from scratch. Or no, not even the couch, the table. Let's use the table. The kitchen table. Your granddaddy built that kitchen table. And that kitchen table has been passed down through your family for 10 generations. Granddaddy built that table in 1800. Look at this table. This pet table is past, or let's say 1900, be more realistic. Granddaddy built this table in 1900, and I'm the 5th generation to have this table. Then you go to have a table. Then you go to somebody else's house on another side of town, another city, and they themselves have a table. But the only table you've ever seen was the one inside your house, because you ain't never paid attention to anything outside your house, and you were told, this is the only table, this is where tables, my granddaddy, this is where tables come from. Then you go to somebody else's house and you see that they got a table too. That's like saying that, no. Your table isn't yours. Tables come from me. My granddaddy built tables. My granddaddy built this table back in 1900. He been building tables. The tables come from my granddaddy. And then the person in the house like, no. My granddaddy built this table. No. They don't come from you. We built our own fucking table. What are you talking about? We don't even know who the fuck you are. How you gonna say we built the tables come from you when we built this? What's the truth? Both people are right. Because both people built their own fucking tables. The only thing that's wrong is the perception and the misconception and the limited short-sightedness of thinking just because you're the one that have it, you're the only one that have it. And that problem goes into the issue we have with New Yorkers when it comes to rap. New Yorkers live in this fucking bubble. Not all New Yorkers, but too many New Yorkers live in this bubble to where nothing outside of New York matters. So it doesn't matter that LA had a rap scene in 1976. You listen to most New Yorkers, LA didn't get a rap scene until NWA came around. When NWA in reality was a second generation. And although New York sparked hip hop, the way hip hop took off in LA was completely different than the way it took off in New York. Because we had our own way of doing it. Because it's all rooted in the same tradition of Black American music and innovation. And doing the best you can do with access to limited resources. It became a lot cheaper to hire a DJ than it did to hire a 10-person band. So now that the DJ's taking over the party because it's cheaper than a band, let's get somebody to rap over here. Priester Johnson, LA was cross-dressing hip-hop with curls and makeup. Can somebody please show Priester John a picture of the Furious Five and Melly Mel and how they were dressed in '82? Can someone show Priester John a picture of Melly Mel and his fucking perm looking like a broad named Ebony? Can someone show Priester John how that grand great New York group was dressing before he gets to talk about LA, and them tight skinny ass sissy clothes that with respect, but them sissy clothes that the Furious Five was dressed in. Somebody show that nigga that. And then when y'all show Priester John that picture, tell him to shut the fuck up talking about LA. And pause New York before you come pause in LA. Fuck out of here. Back to what we talk about. Now I took care of that little distraction. What you see is it really just comes down to a miscommunication. Yeah, go-go is called a response, and that's completely American. Yeah. That's right, child of the sun. Y'all don't like the West Coast, and I'm fine with it. Exactly. When Kendrick bust out that West Coast anthem, and when he pounded Drake, and you saw the way these people from other parts of the country reacted, like, nigga, yeah, y'all just really don't fuck with us, and that's fine. Because I fuck with me, and that's all that matters. If nobody in the world likes me, I do. And that's all that matters. Yeah. And people always say, I don't care if you love the West Coast or not. History is history. LA hip hop grew up and was incubated in its own manner, distinctly different from New York hip hop. And if you want proof, just watch my interview with Alonzo Williams, father of West Coast hip hop, 2 weeks ago on this very channel. See, I went to the source, homie. I went to the man that created West Coast hip hop and asked him directly. That way I ain't gotta talk to none of you niggas about it. And again, appreciate that unique organic hair. And the answer lies within the question. So I went right to the person that invented it. That's all I did. I went to the man that created it and asked him directly. Get yours, DewanB.com. So y'all see how that works? West Coast hip hop is incubated in, it's like all Black American music is incubated where it stands. Yeah, so, and again, I don't even mean to go at New York so hard, but they nominate themselves. Like they chat room. How often do I just talking what I'm talking, and it's a New Yorker, specifically a New Yorker coming in trying to take over the conversation when it turns to hip hop? Chat room. You never get that from Houstonians, from Atlanteans. Nigga, you don't get that from niggas from Philly, Detroit, Chicago, New Orleans, LA, Seattle, Tulsa. You don't get that. It's always a fucking New Yorker, man. I don't even be one to bring them up. Ooh, that shit ugly. Turn that off. That's right, Rashawn Green. But again, it goes to the whole situation. Like Black Americans have to lean and depend on. That's not even culturally how we do it. We get influenced. We'll hear something, but one thing that's true to our tradition, whatever we hear, we personalize it to us and express it in our own way and point of view. That's why you can get songs of this. That's why jazz, if you notice jazz, them jazz artists recycle a lot of the same songs. You'll find a lot of different jazz artists that play the same songs, but they all have their distinct interpretation of it. There's a song called Muskogee Blues, if you want to listen to a lot of the Black American, Native American connection traditions. It's a song called Muskogee Blues. Look that up. There's another song called Cherokee. And there have been renditions of Cherokee going back to Clifford Brown and Max Roach in the 60s, and I mean in the 50s, to Kamasi Washington 10 years ago. You hear, these are songs written by Native Black Americans about their cultural heritage. And another reason why I minimize, and I'm very clear my attention, y'all know me, these niggas is really karaokeing. Another reason why I minimize purposely and very intentionally the New York creative thing, yes, although again, like I always say, they were the spark, they weren't the flame. And the reason why I minimize hip hop the way I do is because hip hop and house are brother sister genres. Hip hop and house music, you always got to put them two together. The way you got to put disco and funk together. The way you got to put blues and jazz together to create rhythm and blues. We have dualities. Our music always has a duality to it. Rock and R&B. Rock and R&B, derivatives of both combinations of jazz and blues. Rock and roll being more blues-based, rhythm and blues being more jazz-based. But both elements of both. There's always twins. We create twin genres. We created hip hop and house. Those are twin genres. And those are, house is the electric version of disco. Hip hop is the electric version of funk. And house hip hop, these are sample-based genres. These are the first genres in American history that didn't make their own soundtrack. Every genre in American history made its own soundtrack. Boogaloo made its own soundtrack. Rock and roll made its own soundtrack. The blues made its own soundtrack, distinctly different from Mississippi to Delta blues to Memphis blues, Kansas City blues, St. Louis blues, Chicago blues, all completely distinctly different sounds. Everyone created their own sound until you get to hip hop. Hip hop is too sample reliant to in any way, shape, or form disconnected from Black America. It doesn't have enough of its own foundation to be separated. Okay? That's why my point of view when it comes to hip hop being this cold new thing is too sample reliant musically. Culturally, it just does what every form of Black American does. It creates its own slang, the same way the rock guys have their own slang. But rock slang is still Black American slang. Disco had its own slang. Groovy, that was still Black American slang. You got to subscribe to my Patreon. On my Patreon, when I talked about Lil Yachty and Uzi Vert being when Glasses Malone talked about how that's more of a rock style, he was right. Glasses was completely right. They're not rap. They're not hip hop. They're Lil Uzi Vert, Travis Scott. They're something else. They're more rock based, but rock based stuff is still Black American culture. You dig what I'm saying? And I think I might put part of that video back up without the video, but that video doesn't make sense without the examples I was able to play. I might re-upload it. But even graffiti, the hip hop got its graffiti from the funk generation. Look up Pedro Bell. With those block letters, he created the funk. Pedro Bell's the one that designed the Funkadelic logo. From Philadelphia. He wasn't no hip hop graffiti artist, but his graffiti art is what hip hop borrowed from. Yeah. So you say you never heard an African doo-wop song, right? Africa don't see no fucking doo-wop. Africa has its own thing. Africa has its own thing. And shouts out to the company man, Justin Hunt. He hosted a great discussion on this, and I gotta put some of those clips out from that video. Even though I wasn't able to put the whole video up. The whole video is up on Patreon, but I'm gonna put some clips out from that video up because we have different. It's like we have a very expansive, wide culture. You're right. What's up, Big Hank 75? I ain't seen you in a minute. The fuck you been, nigga? I gotta take that wrench away. That motherfucker ain't been here so goddamn long. I was going through my shit like, okay, whose wrench am I gonna take away? People won't come here anymore. I'm taking their wrenches away. Yeah, African doo-wop will be funny. Can you imagine it? In the still of a night, shoe up, shoot, I hope and pray. In the still, shoe up, dude, shit up, move up, on the still of the night. They be like, up on the roof, up on the roof, up on the roof, up on the roof. On the roof is where I want to be. If you don't have no, nigga, African doo-wop will be fucking hilarious. No disrespect to the Africans. That's part of Black American culture. We talk shit. Like, that's part of our culture as Black Americans. We talk shit. We don't mean nothing about it. And that's what I hope my Africans and Jamaicans, and because they'll get along. We'll start to get along better when everyone respects everyone's culture for what it is, and 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 just because home matters, like the culture that deserves the most respect is the ones at home. And that's just human law. If I go to your house, I have to defer for you because I'm in your house. Now you may make accommodations for me as a guest, but you're not gonna change for me as a guest. You'll accommodate me, but you ain't gonna change. You're not gonna say, "Hey, sleep in my bed, eat my," and you can come in and here's a key. No, you're not gonna give me a key, but you will be polite to me, and we should be polite. But it's still house rules. And house rules in America is we got these jokes. We didn't get, when we was in slavery and Jim Crow, we didn't get therapy. We had jokes. Our therapy is jokes. We crack jokes, we laugh, and then we move on. And the sooner other cultures that are new to America learn that, the sooner the sooner they'll be able to cope with America and America's bullshit. We developed these. See, we got to realize, Black Americans, we developed these things, and they've stayed with us with our traditions because they have worked. The things that stay are the things that work. If you notice, a lot of Black people were on crack in the 80s. By the time the 2000s came, no Black people were on crack. We learn pretty fast. The shit that's bad, we learn pretty fast. You see this whole degenerate mom model that they've had since the 90s. We're learning really fast. We're starting to reject Cardi B. We're rejecting Glorilla. We're rejecting Sexy Red. You see Sexy Red, we're rejecting. Look, where the fuck is Lil Nas X been? They tried to push him on us. We are rejecting this shit. We learn pretty fast. The things that stick in our culture are the things that generally bend towards the good. They put us on heroin in the 60s and the 70s. We learned. We learn. We usually learn in less than a generation. Usually, if the front half of a generation got hooked on something, the back half of that generation be like, ugh, I ain't doing that. I grew up in the crack 80s. Bass heads were a punchline. We like, you didn't want to be called no fucking bass head or no crackhead, nigga. Listen to NWA. NWA was clowning crackheads. Dope man, they was clowning. They was like, nigga, we'll kill you. Go listen to NWA. They was clowning crackheads. They was clowning dope fiends. Dope fiends a punchline by the time you got to 92. We generally don't keep long-term bad values. And one of our traditions that we keep is jonesing, cracking jokes, talking shit. That's how you cope with bullshit, through laughter. You make absurdities of it. You make it funny. And then you move on. You don't hold it. You let it go. That's why stand-up comedy is in my tree. Somewhere right here. Somewhere in the stop. Yeah, you gotta have that sense of humor. And so when other black cultures learn that about us and they embrace that, you guys will be able to cope a lot better with what goes on this land. Donald Trump wouldn't be so scared of you. You notice, as scared as, I love our response right now, as scared as America is, my homegirl Ashley was in town from Atlanta a couple weeks ago. Me and Ashley go way back. Me and homegirl Ashley, we met on Yahoo Chat in like 1998 when we was in high school. And we just stayed cool all through the years. And she was in town like 2 weeks ago. And we kicked it for like real short, like she had like a layover. So we kicked it for like an hour. And we was just catching up and talking, because I ain't seen Ashley like in 10 years. And we was talking about what's going on in Atlanta, and cause she's like Atlanta, you know. And she ain't political like me. Like, that's where we don't even keep close contact. We just two different people. But I stay in contact with certain people. No, certain people I'm still cool with. But she was talking about Atlanta. She was like, man, the whole road is going to shits. And we down there learning new line dances, trying to learn how to flip our flags. I was like, see, that's what's up. I wasn't in AOL to chat too much. I was a super goon in Yahoo Chat, nigga. If you was in the 90s and you came into African American Teens Room 1, one of my screen names was Shut Your Ass Up Before I Clown You. My first screen name was D's Nuts. You know, that's back in the days when D's Nuts was a thing. I created that screen name like 96, 97. My first name was D's Nuts 99, because my high school graduation year was 99. D's Nuts 99. That was my first Yahoo Chat screen name. And then I had like Drummer Man, some shit like that. But nigga, I used to watch Jerry Springer and be on Yahoo Chat at the same time, clowning. We used to be in Yahoo Chat, and we used to, like, I'd be busy, I'd be at school, so we used to be in Yahoo Chat from like, we get on about 8 o'clock at night when we doing our homework from school, like get on like around 7 or 8, and be on Yahoo Chat. My mom be like, you gotta go to school tomorrow. But I didn't have a bedtime, I was in high school. But she be like, Dewan, be on Yahoo Chat till like 2:30, 3 in the morning, clowning. And if you came in the chat room, and the thing about us in our chat, and when we did it in the late 90s, early 2000s, it wasn't you didn't know how nobody looked. Somebody had to have a scanner to upload a picture, and no niggas didn't have scanners. The only people who had pictures are people who, like, they mom worked, they would scan their picture up at their job and email it to them. It'd be like, mommy. And so when I found out my mom had a scanner her job, I was just like, I didn't tell her what I was doing with it. Like, hey, I was like, mama, can you scan this picture and email it to me? I just want to see how it look. And that's when I first got my picture online. It was like 2000 fucking one, something like that. 2000. Wasn't nobody's fucking picture online back then. So you had to create jokes on how you thought. So what we used to do in Yahoo Chat, we used to I used to just create jokes on how I thought you looked based on your name. Like, it was this one, I mean, like, let's say like a chick would come in, her name would be like Bambi 1998. We'd be like, bitch, you don't look like, your name is Bambi because you look like, what's her name? Because you look like Brandy. Your eyes probably wide apart like Brandy. You probably got Sam Cassell eyes. That bitch face got one eye on one side, another eye on the other side. Bitch look like an amphibian probably. And then you just go down the line because you with someone to say, like, you be like, yeah, she probably look like Brandy. And you start making jokes about Brandy based on how you think this person looks. And nigga, we used to go all night. I remember, that's why I like the 5150 chat room. My brain don't think in jokes like that no more. I don't. Back then, now I'm more so in tune with teaching now. But back then in my teenage years, nigga, what? All I had was jokes. I didn't know shit back then. I couldn't teach you niggas nothing back then. I was still learning. Only thing I could do was crack jokes back then. Nigga, we would go all night long. Nigga, we used to go. African American teens, room 1. If you came in that room and we didn't know who you are, we were gonna clown the fuck out of you till you left. I used to be on that in the chat room, be like, this nigga type like he ain't got a pinky finger. That's why he typing so goddamn slow, because I can type real fast. So you be going in and just getting them with jokes, tagging them. And it be people who, I'm like, this nigga typing with his fingers like this. And then, but they didn't have the arrow sign back then. So you would say this, and then you would draw like semicolon, exclamation mark, semicolon to indicate a finger down like this. Like this nigga type like this. And just be going in on niggas. But I said that to say, when we was talking about where we are culturally, it's a lot going on in America. And you got black women out there trying to learn how to flip their fan. And you got black folks, black dudes over here. Nigga, only thing we talking about is Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. LeBron, the NFL draft. We black folks can't give two fucks about what's going on right now. And I love it. I love it. Hell yeah, we was roasting them. I still can stay in. It's like a handful of people I'm still cool with in real life from them days. Like, we gotta realize, back in the 90s, if you was meeting people online in the 2000s, you was considered weird. We was considered weird. This shit normal now. What y'all don't understand is, I remember when I was meeting girls on Yahoo when I was like late high school, like when I got into college, man, you kind of had to low-key hide that. Be like, nah, me and her, I met her when at the Fox Hills Mall. Yeah. No, you didn't, nigga. You met, but you were, like back then, you were embarrassed to say you met somebody online. That was embarrassing. Like, I come from the generation, we trailblazed that shit. You didn't know how this person was gonna really look, because either they didn't have a picture or they could have scanned a fake picture. And the Fox Hills Mall was the place that we was meeting people on the internet back in the day. And sometimes the Baldwin Hills Mall. I met this one chick at the Baldwin Hills Mall. Oh my God. I swear to God, this chick, I remember when we was talking on the internet, I'm like, how old was I? I was like 18. I was like, no, like 19. We now in African American room 1. We moved from teen to teen room to the adult room. Still clowning. And I met this chick, and she said she went to Dorsey High School. Well, at that time, I lived right down the street from Dorsey. And we talked on the phone for like 2 weeks. Her voice sounded good. We was talking on the internet, then we exchanged phone numbers. Her voice sounded good. We talk on the phone like, shit, 2, 3, 4 hours a night. And we talking like 99, 2000. Cause it was like 2000, cause I was like 19. Man, we talking on the phone and shit. She said she went to Dorsey. I was like, so let's meet up at the Baldwin Hills Mall. Mind you, this is before, cell phones. I didn't have a cell phone yet. Neither did she. So we was like, okay, we gonna meet at the Warehouse Music in the Baldwin Hills Mall at 2 o'clock. Called her for, yeah, you on the way? Cool. I'm on the way too. I didn't have a car. No, I was 18 because I didn't have a car. Yeah, I was 18. So I was 18. I got my car at 19. So I was 18. So I had my dad drop me off at the Baldwin Hills Mall because I didn't feel like walking. He dropped me off and leave. Man, this chick, when I asked her to describe how she looked, she was telling me that, she said, I'm dark skinned. She said, my hair is short like Nia Long's. Now, she didn't say she looked like Nia Long, but she said my hair, remember on Friday how Nia Long had the short hair? She said my hair is short like Nia Long's, and I'm dark and I'm thick. I'm like, hell yeah. My father couldn't drop me off soon enough. Man, I get to the Warehouse Music in the Baldwin Hills Mall. This chick looked like Eddie Levert singing Highway to Heaven, Stairway to Heaven. I woke up, I'm looking for this dark chick with short hair like Nia Long. Man, she looked like she about to sing, here we go, climbing the stairway, nigga. She came in and she looked like the Levert daddy. Man, I was so goddamn mad. And nigga, and mind you, this is just after I had my first knee surgery. I had my knee surgery the summer after I graduated high school by football injury. So this is probably like a month after that. So yeah, we talking 99, I was 18. And my parents lived up in View Park. Nigga, do you know I walked my post-knee surgery having ass knee up that hill, up Stocker? Nigga, I walked up Stocker with a fucked up knee, 1 month removed from knee surgery, because I was too embarrassed to call my dad to pick me up. I shouldn't have been walking that long, but god damn it, it made my knee stronger. Oh my God, this chick, she looked like she was mixed with fucked and up. That's what we used to have to deal with in the early days of meeting people on the internet. On top of being called weird for meeting somebody on the internet. We took a lot of bullets for you young niggas. And let's not even talk about all of the white girls that was in African American room, because again, you didn't have pictures. So you see different chicks in there, And you be like, oh yeah, man, you cool. So y'all go into each other's messenger. It wasn't called DM back then. It was you hit their inbox. It was the inbox. You hit the inbox. DM came later. These were the inbox days, and then you hit them on PM, private messenger. You can hit them on PM. You get their personal and hit them on the private messenger. And y'all be talking back and forth. You be like, oh man, she cool as hell. Where you live? You live in Seattle? Oh shit, man, I'm gonna go to Seattle one day. And y'all be getting cool. And then you see some rumors like, hey, Hot Boy, the Hot Boy 19, a lot of niggas didn't have the name Hot Boy. They be like, yo, did y'all hear about Hot Boy 99? He went out with Diamond XXX, and she a white girl in real life. And we be all like, really? And then like it'd be like a whole night in the Yahoo chat room where they'd be like, yo, yeah, such and such, they actually met in person. And mind you, Diamond XX5, or her name would be like Beyonce. It'd be like a name like Pay My Bills Beyonce 98. That'd be the Yahoo screen name. Pay My Bills Beyonce 98, or Destiny's Child, uh, Destiny's Child 2001. He'd be like, yeah, Destiny's Child 2001. She white. We'd be like, for real? She white? And then they'd be like, yeah. And that'd be a whole night in Yahoo chat. Nigga, Big Hank, yes, the fuck we was paying with fate. You'll get cool with a chick thinking that she black because you in the African American teen room. Mind you, this before a nigga, I didn't know who Nitty Fuller was back then. I didn't know how no fucking white. I didn't know, it wasn't no goddamn hidden colors around in the late 90s to tell you how this game worked. You didn't know how infatuated white girls was with niggas. You didn't know how these white supremacists were, how this infatuated with black folks. We only think about ourselves. We don't be thinking they're part of our shit. Yeah, we didn't have no Dick Gregory videos back then. There wasn't no YouTube for no Dick Gregory videos. We was using Napster and LimeWire for music. There wasn't no Steve Coakley videos on the internet back then. So we didn't know. We from the hood. When you from the hood, you don't know how white people operate, especially in the 90s. Hell yeah, Accolade 310. We was getting Rachel Dolezal. And it's crazy. Steve Coakley's did so many lectures in Lemur Park, 2 miles from where I lived. But I was a kid. I didn't know who the hell he was. I wasn't raised in that environment. I would see like posters with the name Steve Coakley at the New Vision Theater. Come on, June 15th, 1993. But I was 12. The fuck? I'm like, who the fuck is Steve Coakley? I was 12. I didn't know. But I do remember seeing Steve Coakley like posters, like bills, like where him going to go speak in some like in front of the store on the telephone poles and stuff like that. But I was like, nigga, I'm riding my bike. I ain't think about going. I'm like, what the fuck, nigga? What time Martin come on? That's what I was thinking. Hell yeah, I had dial-up Earthlink too. But back to what we talking about, and I'm about to end this out because 1, 2, 3, 1234. I've been getting 1, 2, 3 a lot. I've been getting that number sequence. I've been saying that number sequence 1, 2, 3, 4 every day, almost every day for the last 4 months. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's time for me to take Rocky for his midnight shit. But when it comes to the music and the African connection, it's very minimal, and the elements that exist, most of them also exist in Native music. And if we understand the fact that in New Orleans and places like that, in the cities, red natives and black people classified as Negroes were thrown into the same neighborhoods. And if you look at during the time of slavery, a lot of your red tribes were safe havens for black people who got out, Negroes who escaped, and every slave wasn't an African. Every slave wasn't an African. Most slaves were people who were prisoners of war who were also indigenous to America. Now, we didn't get a separate line from the, we didn't have a separate line for the internet at first. We ended up getting a separate line later on. But I remember my first 2 years in Yahoo Chat, we didn't have a separate line. I was always getting kicked off because that's why I didn't really get the chance to really get on Yahoo Chat until like after 9 o'clock. When it was time for my mom to go to bed to go to work the next day, that's when it was time to get on Yahoo Chat after 9. And be on that motherfucker till like 2, 3 in the morning on a school night. Yeah. But that's what it is, man. They do this. I wouldn't be having this discussion with you guys about African music if I hadn't been studying native music here in America and the migration patterns and the racial classifications of America the last few years. And although in most of the things that they say are African, you also find the native traditions here in America. This nigga Biz Marti said, AOL chat with Miss Cleo infomercials in the background. Right. The Miss Cleo commercials was always on in the background in the Yahoo Chat days. Shit. Yeah, Chef Colaz, they grouped us all together. But when I studied specifically the drums that we play here in America, there's like a one-to-one connection between the drums in America and Native American drums, American Indian drums. And also, there's very little connection to African drums, down to how we even use them with sticks and mallets, 2 hands. Yeah, the praise dance most definitely is indigenous to America. You don't see the praise dance nowhere else. The backbeat is American. The shuffle is American. The Charleston rhythm is American. Go tonight when I'm about to get out of here right now, but play a song called the T-Bone Shuffle tonight. T-Bone, look up, I forgot the exact name of this. T-Bone Walk, I posted it. Let me see, hold on. One called the T-Bone Shuffle. You hear that rhythm, the shuffle. The shuffle is an American rhythm. It's the same rhythm that is the Marvin Gaye song. It must be time for me to log off because my brain's shorting out right now. But I want to do something freaky to you. Alone. Come and Get to This by Marvin Gaye. That's a shuffle. Shuffle is an American rhythm. Facts, not African. So if you're talking about the center of gravity for Black American music, it's America. There's far more European influence in the American sound than there is African, if you're going to use the word influence. But that influence was all created by the Moors. But we get it. We create our own thing. We create. And jazz is based in ragtime. They say okay, we get the polyrhythmic side of jazz comes from Africa, Well, ragtime isn't polyrhythmic, but jazz comes out of ragtime. How'd that work? Hell yeah, the shovel. That's why T Dynamite. Right, Big Hank. Even the Africans are brought here. Their culture was stripped for centuries. How did they get it back? And that's how I'm gonna end this. Something for y'all to think about. I gotta take Rocky for his midnight shit. I'll holler at y'all. But yeah, I'm gonna watch Sinners probably on Monday. And I'll give you guys a review Tuesday or Wednesday, all right? I'll holler at y'all. Oh, intellectual power. Get your intellectual power right now. Link is in the description.